Hi there again. This is part two of my conversation with Vincent. This is where he gets to talk about the little up and downs that comes in post-transplant. Because, some of us go through some situation, or whether it's infection, you name it, COVID, you name it, because with our suppressed immune system, any little things for anybody else could be catastrophic for us. So we talked about that, and we also talked about the love and support of family and friends, how important that is. So sit back, enjoy. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.
So, Vinny, getting back, I just wanted to also touch base on. I understand that lifestyle has to change. Lifestyle has to be modified. But it is a good life, right? I mean, it's not like we are hiding, in somewhere. It is a good life. We just got to make sure that when we go out, if we have to go out, when we eat, because one of the things that I know I do, and my wife is very adamant about that, is when we buy uh, vegetables or salad and stuff like that, we try to make our own salad at home. We cut it, we rinse it, put a little vinegar in there. The one thing is that I don't eat salad at restaurant.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't do that. I don't partake in the buffet. If anyone, I went to see my family first trip I had, since a couple of years with the whole transplant situation, and I went to Florida. So even with all those big parties, we basically it's mostly buffet style. So what they did, the option was that, and which was very nice of them, they basically allow me to go first. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. When everything's set up, no one come close or touch. They allow me to go first. And for my own sake, even then it's nice and hot. I'll microwave it for an extra like a minute, just to be safe. So that's one thing. If you happen to be with family or people, that know your situation and so forth and so on, that's one thing to keep in mind, because people will go and talk and take their food and what have you. So what they do is like, hey, the food is out, make sure everybody, not even approach it. They'll let me go first. Or, they would put my plate aside first, as it's coming out, put my plate aside, and then people go ahead and serve themselves, which I think, it's a good idea, because our own thing is really, because we are immune compromised, we have to walk that delicate balance, right? That delicate balance about, not getting any kind of uh, infections and so on and so on, right? Can you tell us how important that is?
well, yeah, and I mean, I try and be careful. I'm careful with what I eat and how I eat. And I actually did get an infection. I got a fungal infection
Mm.
post-transplant in November. So I was transplanted in July. So just 4 months later, or 3.5 months later, and I ended up in the hospital for almost a full month.
Wow. Okay.
And when I came out of the hospital from that infection, and by the way, fungal infections, um, they are not as easy to get rid of apparently as bacterial infections.
Mm.
They bacterial infections will respond uh, quickly to antibiotics and and get out of your system quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Fungal infections take more time. They move more slowly in your body,
Wow.
and they have to be treated longer because of that. And when I came out of the hospital after that fungal infection, which was November of 2021. Again, I was very, very weak, like I was post-transplant. And I had to have the visiting nurse service come in, and I had to have physical therapy again. You know, I had to go through all that all over again.
Okay.
But you know, I recovered. You know, it wasn't that wasn't pretty, but I recovered. And you know, he's talking about quality of life. You know, I can live my life. I can. Uh, I'm working again. You know, and which is important. It's important to me because it puts a purpose in what I, you know, in how I'm living. And I mentioned earlier, you know, my coworkers were very, very supportive, and you know, my job situation, you know, they held my job even though I was, you know, out for some time. Uh, First when I had the transplant and post transplant, and then when I was hospitalized again. I mean, they you know, they didn't fill my position and say, look, you know, we have to get somebody else. They they kept it open for me, and my coworkers stepped up and did what they could do to make sure that everything at work was stable. And and like I said, that puts a sense of purpose into what we do on our day-to-day lives. And you know, I'm retirement age now, but I have the will to keep going, because it's the only way I can explain it is to say it's what I do.
Yes. And that is a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. And props to your coworkers, to your job, because not everybody had it, you know, that way. I mean, without getting into too much details, I mean, I used to be a correctional officer, and unfortunately, when I started to have the issue, they were like, nah, sorry, you know, we don't want to continue anymore, without quote unquote telling me, you know, and I knew why I was being let go, but it is what it is. But you know, I'm in a better place, to be honest with you. I'm in a better
Mhm.
place. We all have different you know, experiences, and I'm very happy that it really worked out for you, and that showed the true humanity of people to be there for you. And that's one thing I want people to kind of get out of this, because you'd be surprised how people can come and rally around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Rally
yeah.
around you, and to help you through
Hmm.
what you go into. And I think that's good for your psyche. That's good. You know, to have a very positive attitude. I mean, whatever it takes, talk to people, talk to psychiatry. I remember a psychiatrist, psychologist. I mean, whichever. Because I remember when I was in the hospital, there was this lady. She's a psychologist, and she'll come by. She was like, "Well, if you want to talk," I'm like, "No, I'm not talk to no psychologist, blah 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 blah." You know, trying to be on macho and all. But she, you know, she was there. She'll pass by almost every day, every other day, just to say hi. And one day I'm like, what do I have to lose? I'm like, it's there, it's part of the hospital.
Yeah,
You know, I'm like, so sure, let's chat. And
yeah. That you
yeah,
got to keep an open mind about that. You
exactly,
have to.
exactly. And let me tell you, and I'm glad that I did, because I mean, I never seen a psychologist before in my whole life, but I was like, it was just beautiful to have somebody to talk to, like when you're, you know, because in the middle of COVID on top of it. So it was like just my wife and once in a while my kids, so nobody else could come and see you and all that stuff. So it was great to, you know, to have her there, talk to her for like 45 minutes. And 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 I was like surprised how much lighter it made me feel. You know what I mean? Just to have
Hmm.
somebody to talk to. And it's a beautiful thing. So I'm telling people, like, whatever, you can find that venue that can help you out. I mean, the great thing about New York Presbyterian Hospital, Columbia Hospital, is that they offer you so much. I mean, you have people that come, they ask you if you want us to play music for you, guitar, piano, or whatever it is. I was like, wow, this is interesting. At first I was like, nah, leave me, taking to myself. But after that, I'm like, no, sure, fine, well, let's have a discussion. I mean, I spoke with a rabbi, I spoke with a priest, I spoke with a monk. I mean, they have all these people like kind of come by if you need to talk to somebody. I'm like, hey, sure, why not? So it was a beautiful thing to really, keep your mind going and interested and focus on something else than just, either your recovery or transplant and so forth and so on. So I thought that was really, really great. And these are resources that, I mean, depends on what part of the country people are, what hospital, but just ask. Don't be afraid. Ask the social worker there. They are there. I mean, they cannot read our minds. Just ask questions. You know what I mean? Because they're doing their job. But you ask them, and they'll tell you what's available. And don't be afraid. Listen, you there already. Use those resources. And I think that was another thing that I found very, very helpful. To be honest with
Well, it's a humbling experience,
you. Mm-hmm.
what we go through with, being so ill and, um, you know, being, I think it's important to recognize that you need help, not only from surgeons
Mm-hmm.
and from donors and from nurses. But I think, I'll put it this way: take help wherever it's offered, wherever you can
Exactly.
get it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. And I totally agree. It's not the time to be prideful. It's not the time to, you know what? There are people there that really just want to help. There is no other agenda. They want to help, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm telling you, I'm thankful and grateful to them. It's like whenever I have to kind of go back, I try to go on the different floors, and especially people that did the PT with me. It's every time I go by, I could never find them. I was like, wow, okay. But the last time I went, I had to have a hernia, umbilical hernia surgery, and so when I went there, actually it was after the surgery. I had to go back, for a visit, a post, surgery visit, and I had some time, so I went back down to the floor, and lo and behold, I found them, and that was a beautiful thing. I really was very grateful to them. I mean, it was like Maddie and Greg. They were my physical therapy people. Like
Mhm.
every day, 5 days a week, they were there with me, and that's a beautiful thing to be, to go and say thank you to those people, because I do that as often as I can. I see some of the nurses, the lady that is in charge of the head nurse. She was very, very supportive. And I go back and say hello and meet some of those doctors.
Mhm.
I'm like, listen, your work matters, and I'm grateful to you folks because I'm here now with my family, and thank you for your patience, for your love, and I'm very grateful because people can just do their job, you know what I mean? But there's an extra level of care that people can, make you feel, human again, make you feel good even in a tough situation. And I really commend the staff over there at New York
It's
Presbyterian.
re- it's remarkable what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing the work that they do,
Mm-hmm.
and the care that they give, and the kindness and the compassion. And it's I'm gonna say again, we are we are fortunate and must feel grateful
Mm-hmm.
to receive, what we have.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And and I appreciate it. Every day is a gift.
Yes, yes. No, absolutely. You're right. You're absolutely right. Every time, we wake up, another day, it's raining, it's not, it doesn't matter. It's like, what? I'm experiencing this, and it's a beautiful thing. So,
Yeah.
and I'm really grateful, eternally grateful to the donor's family, to the donor, because it's a sacrifice
Yes.
the family had to make.
Hmm.
Okay. And to say that it's a good thing more people are getting into this mindset of donors, and that families are really considering them, because it helps so many people. It helps save lives, and it's a beautiful thing to know, hey, your loved one passed on, but at least part of them is living into another human being. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And hopefully eventually one day I hope to get to meet the family, or at least talk to them. So we'll see, but one step at a time, one step at a time,
Right. Right.
one step at a time. So, in closing, Vinny, I really want to thank you for doing this. And what's the last message you can give to people that are pre-transplant, pre-listed? Because it varies. Some, like you said, some people get listed and then they get lucky. I mean, I had somebody on the Facebook group, within a week they got their line. I was like, oh my goodness, that's awesome. Me, I got listed, I think it was like April 2021, and I finally got mine in October. Uh,
Hmm.
I spoke with a transplant recipient from Toronto, Miss Nancy Lewis. I think she had to wait over a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. So some people have, you know, to wait for about 2 years. So it all depends. It all depends on
It
the.
all depends. And well, one thing that was lucky for me was I have O negative blood type,
Oh, okay, very
universal
common.
blood type.
Hmm.
But I also, I said to my pulmonologist, uh, after I had the surgery, and I said, "Wow, that I got a lung fast, And he said, "It's a good thing because, you know, we had to put you in the hospital because you needed to be on higher oxygen,
The
higher
higher the shoot.
concentration of
Yeah,
oxygen than you
high
could
flow.
get
Hmm.
at home anymore."
Hmm.
And he said to me, "I'll be frank with you." He said, "If you hadn't," he said, "you were going downhill." He said,
Hmm.
"If you hadn't have gotten the lung in a reasonable amount of time,
Hmm.
we were worried that we wouldn't be able to transplant you because, your uh, problem with getting oxygen is not only part of your lungs; it affects your heart. It affects your other vital organs."
Absolutely.
So I was very, very lucky to that I got, um, and like I said, I had a universal blood type, and they found a matching donor quick, so I was
Hmm.
very, very lucky. But all I can say is, for me, it certainly was worth it. I feel better since I've had my transplant. I mean, I've had times where, um, where, like I said, I had that fungal infection where that was a rough time,
Hmm.
but you get through it. As my doctor says, if you have trouble with infection, if you have trouble with rejection, we can treat it.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean it's going to be fun, but it can be treated.
Yeah.
And always remember that. And for the most part, I'm doing better than I was for the past couple of years before getting transplant. Like I said, I
Hmm.
was in a I was in a wheelchair. I was in a walker. I was on 24-hour oxygen.
Yeah.
I don't have to live that way now. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
Hmm.
And you know what? It doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Because you know what? Every day, like they said, The present is a gift.
Right.
We are unwrapping it every day, Vincent.
Yes.
We are
Stay in
unwrapping
the
the
moment.
present every day. Stay in the moment. Don't worry what could, if, and what, because you know what? Life, God forbid, anything can happen. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
Anything can happen. So you cannot be in that mindset, oh, no. This procedure you went through, the present is a gift. Unwrap it. Love yourself. Love your loved ones, and live your life to the best of your abilities. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
And count your blessings, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. Well, Mr. Vincent Armanino, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation for Lung Transplant Nation. We got Lung Transplant Nation on YouTube and as well on Instagram. Okay. So please, thank you so much for your time, sir, for sharing this with us. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sasha. It's a pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here today. It's a pleasure to see you anytime I see you.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we'll definitely be in touch with one another in our support group. Thank you so much. Happy
Thank
New
you,
Year.
Sasha. Happy New Year.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Well, folks, this is it. Thank you for watching the conversation with Vincent Armanino. I hope you really find it insightful. I hope people that are pre-transplant can get something out of it that can be helpful to them. And I hope their caregivers, their family, or whoever their caregivers are, can also find something very useful in my series of conversation that I'm having with people that are post-transplants. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Lungtransplant Nation, on YouTube and also on Instagram. I have more conversation coming up in the near future. Thanks again. You have a blessed day.